at medical sa human health.
The Labor Department agrees that strict quarantine measures have displaced hundreds of thousands of workers, but there is a need to generate more jobs as part of employment recovery strategy.
Happy to note of the 1.7 million jobs that have been generated compared to the pre-pandemic labor force survey, which is January 2020. Christmas season, so maganda yung prospects ng ating mga negosyo. So tuloy-tuloy po yung kailangan kasing sabayan ng pamahalaan yung positive outlook ng ating mga negosyante.
President Rodrigo Duterte's economic managers are still optimistic for a recovery towards the end of the year as the country shifts to granular lockdowns and speeds up the COVID-19 vaccination program. Tristan Odalo, CNN Philippines.
Hours from now, the alert level 4 in Metro Manila is scheduled to end. Members of the interagency task force are meeting at this time to discuss the next alert level for the region. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque says mayors recommended a lower alert level to allow more establishments to reopen, but the decision is still up to the health department. Now, for the Octa Research Group, recent case trends show improvements in the National Capital Region. It projects, or Octa projects, that NCR will improve to moderate risk by late October or November, and further to low risk by December.
We're quite confident that trend we're seeing is a clear trend because the positivity rate has been decreasing. Last week, 7 days ago, it was 21% in NCR. Now it's 18%. And this is the 7-day average. Means medyo mabilis bumaba yung positivity rate. So it means that even if we have lower testing, if the positivity rate is decreasing, that's a sign that the trend is actually lowering because the density of positive cases is also decreasing.
Octa adds the reproduction rate, or the number of people that an infected person might transfer,
is also decreasing.
Octa adds the reproduction rate, or the number of people that an infected person might transfer the virus to, already dropped to less than 0.9 in most cities in NCR. Reproduction rate below 1 could mean a slowdown in the transmission. Metro Manila and the rest of the country have been under various kinds of quarantine restrictions since early last year. But for Roque, wider lockdowns are not the key to curb the spread of the virus.
Ang lockdown po ay hindi solusyon. Hindi po mawawala na tuluyan ng COVID sa mga darating na panahon. Importante po, pag-ingatan natin mga buhay nang tayo po ay makapaghanap buhay.
Socio-Economic Planning Secretary Carl Chua agrees, saying intensifying granular lockdowns and following minimum health standards are more effective. Well, the country has been battling the COVID-19 pandemic for 18 months. That's a year and a half. And until now, we're still hearing the same concerns from frontliners. They say the government's pandemic response is lacking, especially in the regions. Carolyn Bonkin has that story.
Ang mga MHOs, makapagpahinga lang tayo kung nagka-COVID na tayo.
It's a fatalistic remark from a doctor describing thousands of weary health workers scarred from battling COVID-19 since March last year.
Lahat ng kausap mo pagod. Pagod na, kasi 18 months and we're still in the same level.
Many provinces are still struggling with lack of basic facilities and resources to beat the virus, making the job of health workers doubly difficult. A doctor in Cagayan Province laments the scant facilities for COVID-19 patients.
Kunwari galing ka ng Santa Ana and you have to get admitted to a COVID facility, 24 hours to travel from Santa Ana to the district hospital that will cater to COVID patients.
In the Nagat Islands, testing is only done twice or thrice a week since samples need to be transported by boat.
Ang ating pinakamalapit na testing facility ay sa Surigao City, pero yun ay 1 hour away by boat.
The nearest facility is a Philippine Red Cross laboratory and patients have to pay. This limits the acceptance of samples from patients with PhilHealth.
Otherwise, they will have to pay out of pocket na wala naman sa price range ng average na dinadat nun.
For those without health insurance, samples are sent to Butuan City, also in the Caraga region, an additional 2 to 3 hour trip. Slots are also limited because the facility here also processes samples from other provinces.
Hindi din kasi namin kayang gawin siya everyday. Mauubusan kami ng driver, tsaka mauubusan kami ng budget para sa gasolina. So, madadali pa ang kanilang testing, subsequent testing ng kanilang contact.
Isolation facility for suspected COVID-19 cases in the island is still under construction. And because internet connection is limited, manual contact tracing is the next best thing. There are only 20 doctors attending to 127,000 people. The province is in touch with the health department to have a COVID-19 testing machine in the island. But health workers still face another problem, convincing residents reluctant to get tested for fear of losing income. Caroline Bongkin, CNN Philippines.
Now, the latest in the Farmally controversy, a witness presented by a lawmaker during a Senate probe denies being bribed into testifying against the government supplier. The whistleblower says it was he who reached out to Senator Risa Ontiveros. He confessed to being hired as Farmally's warehouse staff and that he and other workers were asked to change the
even if they were dented, dirty, or expired. Ontiveros and her chief legislative officer presented the witness again today to dispute the claims of Farmally's legal counsel, Ferdinand Topacio. Yesterday, Topacio showed a video supposedly of another warehouse staffer claiming that Ontiveros' witness received money in exchange for his testimony.
So yung mga anomalyang yon ay totoo, hindi ito invento, yung mga substandard na face shield at yung pagpapalit ng certificate ng face shield, ito ay totoo.
Inamin na rin naman po ni Miss Marvin, kaya po talagang ako natotoo po lahat na sinabi ko. Pusang loob pong sinabi po sa inyo, tapos wala naman po akong bayad na hiningit po sa inyo.
Ontiveros' team says it took them weeks to assess the information given by the witness, asked if they're...
Ontiveros says consultations are underway, but for now they're focused on the Senate panel's hearings on alleged anomalies in the procurement of government COVID-19 supplies. The center maintains that Topacio's allegations are an attempt to divert public attention. A Farmally official skips today's Senate inquiry after dropping a bombshell in a previous hearing. In her absence, lawmakers grilled the firm's accountant as well as a former top budget official, former procurement service head Lloyd Christopher Lau. Amor Santos gives us updates from that 10th hearing. Amor?
Still, Farmally official Crisel Grace Mago has not surfaced since her shocking admission last Friday that the company tampered with the expiration dates of its face shields and thus swindling the government. According to the Blue Ribbon Committee's Oversight Office Management, Mago is practically missing. Farmally's Corporate Secretary Mohit Dargani said he last spoke with Mago last Saturday morning. On Sunday, Senate Blue Ribbon Committee Chairman Richard Gordon announced that they could no longer contact Mago. He asked the Senate Sergeant at Arms to track her down, something that's also being done by the National Bureau of Investigation.
May I request the Sergeant at Arms to please trace her whereabouts so we can find her, because she's a very material witness in this particular case. She's more than just somebody who appears to be a clerk, but I think she knows a lot more, and she does a lot more for Farmally.
Counsel of another Farmally executive director, Lincoln Ong, claims his client was being forced to testify. He's under Senate custody for allegedly lying in previous hearings. Another resource person, Farmally Biologicals Rose Lynn, excused herself for medical reasons. During the hearing, Senate Minority Leader Franklin Drilon again quizzed accountant Iluminada Sabial about Farmally's financial records, including over 7 billion pesos in sales and 33 million pesos in donations to various government entities in 2020. Sabial said she was paid 4,000 pesos to sign the financial statement, basing it on a mere list because Farmally refused to give supporting documents. Gordon ordered the issuance of a subpoena for Farmally's chief accountant. Meanwhile, lawmakers again grilled resigned Undersecretary Lloyd Christopher Lau, then head of the Budget Department's Procurement Service, for using the suggested retail prices basis for the wholesale purchase of COVID-19 supplies. Lau had caught the ire of lawmakers during previous hearings, and it was no different this time.
Mr. Lau, are you smirking? No,
Are you
no po.
smirking, Mr. Lao?
I'm smiling, Mr. Chairman.
So
Kasi po,
what's funny?
insist
What's
po
funny?
natin,
Why is it funny?
yeah, if I find it humorous, Mr. Chairman.
It is not humorous when you overprice, Mr. Lao.
Yeah.
It is not humorous when people are dying because of substandard materials, particularly.
People are dying, that's why we procured it for them.
Yeah, you procured it substandard for them.
Gordon also reprimanded Lau for raising his voice in an interpellation by Senator Risa Ontiveros, reminding him that he has no immunity in the Senate despite the support he has been receiving from President Duterte, no less. Back to you.
Amor, let's go back to Crizel Mago. Didn't she make an official statement saying that she needed time to think, but that she was willing to cooperate with the probe?
That's right, Pia, but as far as the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee is concerned, Mago is missing because she has not made any form of communication with them, not an email, not a response to text messages or to phone calls. And Gordon also said it's difficult to verify if the official statement really came from Mago. Now, yesterday, CNN Philippines received a phone call, and it was from an unknown number. The person identified herself as Crizel Grace Mago, saying she was confirming that the official statement came from her, but then she refused to answer any questions from us. Pia.
Amor Santos there reporting. Still ahead on Newsnight, an opposition coalition endorses Vice President Leni Robredo as its standard bearer for the elections. Find out what Robredo has to say. And an up-close conversation with Jinggoy Estrada, who is running for the Senate next year. He joins us live here on CNN Philippines. Stay tuned.
North Korea's aggressive young dictator is back to tweaking, agitating, clamoring for the West's attention, and getting it. North Korea's news agency claims Kim Jong-un's military has test-fired a hypersonic missile which can travel several times faster than the speed of sound and has a warhead that detaches and glides. That was just minutes before North Korea's envoy to the UN spoke to the General Assembly, accusing the U.S. of, quote, antagonizing Pyongyang, blasting the U.S.-South Korean military alliance, and making an implied threat of his own.
We have been very much accustomed to the U.S. military threat, and we know well how to deal with the U.S., the most hostile country.
After a period of relative calm, military tensions on the Korean peninsula have recently been boiling. This is North Korea's third missile test this month, following another ballistic missile test in mid-September and tests of long-range cruise missiles before that. South Korea tested a submarine-launched ballistic missile on September 16th and is deploying a 3,000-ton sub capable of firing it.
On the peninsula, it's clear there's arms racing dynamics going on. North Korea is signaling that its missile arsenal is moving to sea, so South Korea is doing the same. That means that both countries will, in a crisis, be looking in many different directions. That increases the risk of miscalculation and increases the risk that an accident could occur.
The blur of activity on the peninsula in recent weeks includes a bizarre parade through Kim Il-sung Square in Pyongyang, featuring a hazmat squad, a canine unit, horses, and at the stroke of midnight, an image that got North Korea watchers into a lather. Kim Jong-un in a tailored, light-colored suit, looking strikingly thinner than he had a few months ago.
I see no threat to the stability of North Korea or to his rule of North Korea, except the sort of health problems that have run in his family over the years. And he probably knows that, and that may be one of the reasons why he's doing his best to stay in fighting trim, so to speak.
Kim was even shown in propaganda footage appearing to enjoy a bright green drink with a twisty straw. The visuals, the missile tests, the bombast at the UN signal a re-emergence of Kim Jong-un on the world stage. But what's his calculation?
I think the message is that North Korea is prepared to talk, but on its terms. And those terms include a desire to talk about what they describe as South Korean and U.S. hostility. And they're not particularly interested in talking about what the United States wants to talk about, and that is, of course, denuclearization. the North Koreans have made it very clear that they're not going down that path.
Welcome back to Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines. In less than 24 hours, election fever begins. Tomorrow is the first day of filing of certificates of candidacy, where Filipinos will finally find out who will vie for national and local posts next year. Melissa Lopez walks us through the process.
Filipinos get an additional 3-week opportunity to enlist and the chance to vote for the next set of leaders in the May 2022 elections. Poll commissioners unanimously decided Wednesday that voter registration will resume from October 11th until the 30th. Voters may line up at COMELEC offices or more registration desks until Thursday, September 30th. A week-long break will give way for district offices to receive the certificates of candidacy of politicians looking to join the 2022 race. Applications for first-time voters, transfer of districts, and reactivation will be accepted Mondays to Fridays from 8 in the morning until 5 p.m. COMELEC offices will only offer Saturday processing on October 30th, the last day of registration. Spokesman James Jimenez says the relatively shorter registration hours are more than enough to accommodate those trying to beat the deadline. Filipinos abroad are also given more time to sign up to vote next year. Registration activities in foreign posts will continue until October 14th.
As with any planning, may allowance talaga yan. Basically, what this means is we're gonna dip into that slack time. To do this for the benefit of the people who are asking for it, no? The public clamor, again, is really very loud.
The House and Senate have passed bills that would mandate COMELEC to grant a 1-month reprieve for last-minute registrants. The Senate even stalled on the poll body's 2022 budget proposal when Chairman Sharif Abbas said last week that the Commission can only allow a 1-week extension.
Huwag naman natin hintayin uli na kung saan yung deadline, doon na naman tayo magpaparehistro. So, para at least hindi rin tayo mahirapan.
Commissioner Rowena Guanzon adds, the longer time will allow more Filipinos to exercise their right to vote. Mall-based registration desks will remain an option in October, along with online reactivation for those previously registered but failed to vote in the last 2 elections. More than 63 million Filipinos can vote on May 9th. Melissa Lopez, CNN Philippines.
Filipinos continue to troop to malls on the last day of voter registration this month. At a mall in Quezon City, the number of registrants was cut off as early as 3:40 a.m. Only 300 walk-ins were accommodated apart from senior citizens, persons with disabilities, and those who had reservations. But it is a different story at another mall in Manila where the number of registrants dropped after people were given more time to sign up.
Wala namang pinagkaiba. Kung pipila ko ngayon, ay pipila ko sa ibang araw. Pipila pa din naman po ako. So, gagawin ko na po kasi marami rin po kayo nintindi, like schoolworks and yung mga gawain ko sa bahay.
Bago po ma-extend, tinry po talaga namin habulin September 30 eh. Kaya po, tinuloy na rin namin kahit po extended. It's time na po na bumoto na ako kasi po nakakaloka po yung mga nangyayari dito ngayon, lalo na for healthcare workers.
Voter registration resumes on October 11 to 30. Opposition coalition Isang Bayan is fielding Vice President Leni Robredo as its presidential bet. Now the question is, will she even run for the highest post? Our Angelo Mario has the details.
After a long search, Isang Bayan chooses Vice President Leni Robredo as its standard bearer for 2022. Robredo, the coalition believes, is the best candidate to fight plunder and dictatorship. Isang Bayan conveners screened aspirants based on their track record, integrity, competence, and winnability. But why Robredo, who's lagging behind survey results? Isang Bayan convener, retired Justice Antonio Carpio, insists Historically, those who are leading in surveys early eventually lost. In 2019, the opposition's Ocho Derechos suffered an embarrassing defeat when none of them won a seat in the Senate. Isambayan asks Robredo to accept its endorsement to lead the Filipino people in this dark period in history. But if she declines, Carpio says the coalition will meet again. But for them, Robredo turning down its offer is a remote possibility. Until now, Robredo's 2022 plans remain unclear. Among her options, run for president, seek re-election, or lead Camarines Sur as governor. Robredo says she's not losing hope to unite the opposition, but will it even happen? In a statement, Robredo thanks Isambayan for the nomination, but she hasn't accepted it yet. She asks her supporters to join her in praying that her decision will be the best for the country. Carpio says Vice President Leni Robredo is in Bicol now, but her office has yet to confirm it. Isambayan and her supporters are waiting for her decision if she'll take the fight to Malacanang. Anjo Alimario, CNN Philippines.
Still ahead on Newsnight, hopefuls for national posts will converge at a hotel in Pasay City during the week-long filing of candidacies. Get a preview of what to expect there. And Jinggoy Estrada will again try his luck for a Senate seat next year after failing in the 2019 race. We'll get up close with him live.
Star's video for the latest single off his EP, Change the World, features Kids in the Spotlight, a non-profit that helps foster care youth tell their stories through film. The kids also helped develop the concept for the video and assisted in the directing, lighting, choreography, and other areas. Zach Brown Band's The Comeback Tour is on hold after Brown tested positive for COVID-19. Brown broke the news on social media, saying he's putting the health and safety of our fans and crew first. He thanked the fans and frontline workers and promised the band will resume the tour as soon as it's safe.
We always do get through it, and we're going to get through it again. Tornado! Everybody out! Tornado! Follow me this way. Everybody hurry! Are you sure this is the safest place to be?
Here's your first look at 13 minutes. That's how long people in a heartland town have to find shelter when a tornado hits their community. 13 Minutes lands in theaters October 29th, on VOD November 19th, and DVD December 7th. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
RPN Radio Philippines Network Radio Runda DXKP Pagadian Member Kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas. RPN DXKP Pagadian, ang inyong Radyo Ronda. RPN Radio Philippines Network. Radio Philippines Network. Live to the world, pinaagi sa FB page, karon mag-download na. Pinaagi sa Google Play, og Apple Store, YouTube, og Twitter. Alang sa mas ipakuskan ng mga balita, komentaryo, kasayuran, og kalingawan. Ang mas Pakusgan nga inyong Radyo Ronda.
Member, kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas.
Kini ang RPN, Radio Philippines Network, Istasyon DXKP, 1377 kHz sa dial sa inyong mga radyo. Nagsibya gikan sa dakbayan sa Pagadian, DXKP AM. Your talk station. Kini Pagadian.
This red carpet at Hotel Sofitel in Pasay City is ready to welcome aspiring candidates for the 2022 polls.
We're pretty confident, no, that we're going to be ready for first thing tomorrow. I would say we're about 90% ready.
To get here, a politician and his team of 3 must go through one-way traffic at the CCP complex. Access is limited to aspirants, their companions, Comelec officials, and the media. A negative antigen test is required upon entry, which may be done in private laboratories or in swab tents at the hotel. The filing section is divided into 3 areas. One for presidential and vice presidential bets, the next for senators, and the last for party list groups. These seats behind me serve as a waiting area and marker for physical distancing. Security is tight, with 3,000 police and military personnel deployed in and around Sofitel.
Actually, yung mga magrarally, legally speaking, bawal po yan. Kasi nasa alert level 4 pa po tayo. We will just exercise maximum tolerance.
The area surrounding the hotel will be a no-fly and no-fishing zone beginning Friday until midnight of October 9th. The police also recommended the suspension of permit to carry firearms for civilians to limit threats. Simulation activities were done in case of threats. Comelec and police personnel say accommodations will be given in case President Rodrigo Duterte or Vice President Leni Robredo will personally file their COCs. Their security detail will not be counted against the limit of 3 companions. Marshals will be deployed to enforce health protocols, including 1-meter distance. Melissa Lopez, CNN Philippines.
Former Senator Jinggoy Estrada has officially announced he will be seeking a return to the Senate in the 2022 elections. Estrada served 2 terms as senator from 2004 to 2016, the last 2 years of which were spent in jail because of plunder charges in connection with a multi-billion peso pork barrel scam. He was released on bail in 2017, but his plunder case remains pending. Jinggoy's half-brother, former Senator J.V. Ejercito, also earlier confirmed he will be running for senator again next year. Now, both vied for a seat in 2019, like we said, but failed to make it to the top 12. Now let's get up close with former Senator Jinggoy Estrada himself. Good evening, Senator Jinggoy, and welcome to Newsnight and to Up Close. Alam niyo po, 2 weeks ago lang, andito po yung kapatid niyo, si JV.
Yeah, I heard that he's also running for the Senate, and I saw on Facebook that he already declared that he was interested also in running for the Senate.
Okay, so interesting. The terminology you use, you heard he was running for the Senate, and that you read in his Facebook post, for example. So hindi po kayo talaga dalawa nag-uusap about this, no? About plans for 2022.
Well, I must admit that we talked last month. And face to face, yeah. And he was seriously considering running first here in San Juan, and he told me to give him a week to decide. And after which, after 1 week, through a mutual friend, our mutual friend called me up and informed me that he's going to run for the Senate again.
He wanted to run in San Juan for what? For mayor or for Congress?
Well, he was considering running for a seat in Congress here in San Juan. But unfortunately, after a week, he informed one of his friends, some mutual friends, that he changed his mind and he was running for the Senate.
Oh, interesting also, Senator Jingo, you say that you met face-to-face. Was this a meeting that you planned, you asked to see each other, or was this an accidental meeting when, you had to get together, I guess, to talk about your dad, no?
Well, it was a planned meeting organized by a mutual friend, actually. And the meeting was held here in San Juan.
I see. Okay. Well, speaking of your brother, the last time both you and JV ran for the Senate in 2019, like we already said in the introduction, medyo laglag kayong dalawa eh. Nag-number 13 si JV, nag-number 15 po kayo. Who's to say that will not happen again?
Well, I hope that won't happen again. I'm hoping and praying that won't happen again. My appeal only to JV, wag nang magsisiraan, wag nang magpapayawan. Let's just concentrate on what we can do for our country. I-promote natin yung sarili natin advocacy sa public, and let the people decide. Ako naman, as an older brother, ako naman, I also want him to win, and I also want myself to win also, para mas marami kami matulungan.
Okay. In 2019, the other problem, Senator Jinggoy, of course, was, at napansin to ng lahat, para bang the Estrada family was spread too thin because you had your father running for mayor in Manila, Jerica running in San Juan, and then, both you and JV running for the Senate. Para bang masyadong, masyadong kalat eh. You were all over the place. And therefore, you had San Juan as your bailiwick or balwarte. You had Manila, in a way, as balwarte ng tatay po ninyo, in a manner of speaking. And then, there were 4 of you running and nawala lahat.
Yes, I must admit that during the last elections in 2019, 3 of us, actually 4 of us, no, 5 of us were running at the same time, no? My daughter, Janela, ran for mayor here in San Juan. My dad was running also for mayor in Manila. Jerica, my other sister, was also running for councilor in Manila. And JV was also running for the Senate. Kaya talagang medyo, I had to attend also to the needs of my daughter here in San Juan, and also to my father. I also had to support him. And I cannot do all the things at the same time because I was also campaigning for myself in the provinces. So medyo na out of focus talaga. Now that I will be running all alone, so siguro I can focus myself.
PMP, of course, is your father's party. In 2019, medyo involved pa siya sa usapan ng pamilya as to who would run where and saan mapupunta yung suporta, etc. But itong 2022 elections, itong pagtakbo ninyo ni JV, did you consult your father or he has no more say sa mga plano ninyo ni JV dahil, matatanda na kayo, you're both adults, you can make decisions for yourselves?
You're coming in garbled. I really can't understand the question. You're coming in real garbled.
Okay, sorry. Is your father involved in this decision-making process ninyong dalawa ni JV para kay dalawa tayo
as a father,
2022?
I have already informed my father about my intentions of running for the Senate. And I also informed my father that Senator JV has also is interested in running also for the Senate. And sabi niya sa akin, if I will choose between the two of you, pag pinaboran niya ako, syempre sasabihin ni Senator JV na, mas mahal ng dati ko si Jinggoy. Pag pinaboran naman niya si JV, sasabihin ko naman, mas mahal ng dati ko si JV. So ayaw niya na makialam. We're both, sabi niya, matatanda na kayo, you can decide on your own. Basta ako, as a father, I am here to support both of you.
Okay. I have a few other questions, Senator Jinggoy, that I wanted to tackle with you. And then, like one or two questions, and we just need to go to a break, then we'll get back to it now. But first, this question, because we have this pandemic, and there is a lot of criticism, a lot of observations about the way the government has handled, or the government response to, or the government's pandemic response. Now. So, if you were to win in 2022 and you would go back to the Senate, how would you manage, or how would you want the health crisis managed differently?
Well, first of all, we're as a senator, we're only here to legislate laws. We're only here to pass laws. Okay. What I want to happen is that right now, especially during the time of pandemic, my advocacy, even before I entered the Senate in 2004 and when I was re-elected in 2010, I chaired the Committee on Labor, and one of my advocacies was to have jobs or create jobs for our people, especially the masses. Now, how can you do that at this time of a pandemic? It is hard. It is really very, very hard to do it in times of this crisis. Now, what I feel is that the private sector, the private sector must be involved in helping our government. Kasi itong mga pribadong sektor, ito yung mga nakakaalam sa mga negosyo, they have the knowledge, they have the capacity to engage in businesses. So, dapat tulungan nila yung ating gobyerno para makapag-generate or makapag-create ng mga trabaho para sa ating mga kababayan.
All right. Senator Jinggoy, we're going to go to a quick break, and then we'll get back to this interview with you. Also, when we return on Newsnight, apart from that continuation of the interview with Senator Jinggoy Estrada, Coronation Night drawing closer and closer for the next Miss Universe Philippines and 2 new title holders. And music fans finally getting to watch the newly dropped cosmic collaboration of 2 famous groups. Details after the break. Welcome back to CNN Philippines. You're still watching this up-close segment with former Senator Jinggoy Estrada. Senator Jinggoy, very quickly, I wanted to ask you, will you adopt an ironclad, no-nonsense drug policy? Or another way to say this is, did the drug war solve the drug problem, and is that the same thing you want to see in the next administration?
What is your first question, Pia? It's really garbled. What is your first question?
Garbled ba? Will you adopt an ironclad, no-nonsense drug policy in the same way that we had the drug war of the Duterte administration?
So what is your question?
Will you adopt the same kind of ironclad, no-nonsense drug policy?
Maybe on a different approach, Pia. Hindi naman yun talagang merong killing stone sa kabila, may killing sa kabila. Hindi naman siguro natin gagawin yan.
Okay. Sige, ito naman, Senator Jinggoy, mga answerable by yes or no lang. So very quickly, first, do you favor easier public access for SAL-Ns of the President, Vice President, and lawmakers? Yes or no?
If you can have access to the SAL-N, excuse me?
Yes. Yes. SAL-N ng President, VP, lawmakers.
The SAL-N, that is a public document. So that is a public document, so it can be scrutinized by everybody.
Okay, so the answer is yes. This next question.
Excuse me?
Oo. Okay, yes or no lang ang sagot, Senator Jinggoy. Do you support lifting foreign ownership limits in the Constitution? Yes or no?
Foreign ownership? Yes.
Yes. Okay. Do you favor the reimposition of the death penalty for drug-related cases? Yes or no?
Yes.
Should the sitting president be allowed to run for vice president? And we ask this question because President Duterte is supposed to be running for VP. Yes or no?
If there is no prohibition in the Constitution, who am I? Yes, of course. There is no prohibition in the Constitution that prohibits the president to run for vice president.
Okay, and yes or no, do you favor the resumption of peace talks with communist rebels?
Do I? Excuse me?
Do you favor the resumption of peace talks with communist rebels?
Yes. Yes. Definitely.
Okay. And my final question, Senator Jinggoy, because we've run out of time, who will your presidential candidate be? Sino kaya? Is it going to be, well, of course, depende no, kung tatakbo talaga sila. Sara, Bongbong, Isko, Manny, Grace, Lenny, Ping, Alan, etc. I'm reading from the list of the surveys that have come out very recently.
You're asking me who is my presidential candidate?
Candidate, yes.
Well, I'll just reserve my answer.
Senator Jinggoy Estrada, thank you very much for joining us here on Up Close on Newsnight. Salamat po, sir. One of the biggest pageant stages in the country is set, and we're very close to finding out the next woman who's going to wear the Miss Universe Philippines crown. Coronation night will begin at 7 p.m. Later, that's in about 15 minutes from now, at Panglao, Bohol, with a physical audience limited to 100. That will be available for paid streaming on ktx.ph. Out of 28 candidates, one will represent the country in Israel for the international competition in December. But this year, there are more chances of winning among the delegates. The pageant organizer announced that contestants can claim 2 new crowns, Miss Universe Philippines Tourism and Miss Universe Philippines Charity. Miss Universe Philippines Tourism is expected to step in if the main title holder cannot fulfill her duties. And on Instagram, the reigning queen bids farewell to the throne. Miss Universe Philippines 2020, Rabia Mateo, posted a message of gratitude to the nation yesterday. And before we go, Coldplay and BTS took fans to another world in their newly released music video for My Universe. The outer space-themed production featured the two banding together with an alien group to make music in a galaxy where it is forbidden, with a concluding message that read, "We are all one in the universe." The upbeat music video reflects unity among these two bands that come from different nations.
Because we come from different sides. You are my universe, and I just want to put you first.
BTS Army and Coldplay supporters alike flocked to watch the much-awaited production, which has gained over 7 million views in less than 24 hours. 86 more days to go before Christmas Day, and that is it for now. Thank you for watching. I'll see you again at 7 for News.ph. I'm Pio Ontiveros for Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines.